This is the story of Sumiarsih, a name that haunts Surabaya to this day. Known as the Queen of Gang Dolly, she was a former nightclub hostess who rose to power as one of Indonesia's most notorious brothel madams. But behind her charm, wealth, and influence, Sumiarsih carried a grudge so deep it ended in bloodshed. This is Indonesia Crime Files. Today we revisit one of the most disturbing murder cases in Indonesian history. Born in 1948 in Jombang, East Java, Sumiarsih led a modest life, helping her parents run a small food stall. She married young, but the relationship didn't last. After her divorce, she migrated to Jakarta in search of a better future. In the early 1970s, she worked briefly at a food stall in Ancol. But finding the pay insufficient, she entered the nightlife scene. Starting as a waitress, she quickly became a hostess at several nightclubs. With soft Javanese beauty and quick wit, she attracted powerful clients, officials, businessmen, and military officers. She eventually offered more than companionship. By the mid-70s, she was not only a top-tier hostess, but also a high-class call girl. Her ambition didn't stop there. She met a client named Jais Adi Prayitno, a widower from Malang, and later married him. Together, they entered the sex industry more formally, opening a brothel called Happy Home in Surabaya's infamous red light district, Gang Dolly. It wasn't just any brothel. Happy Home quickly became the most sought-after destination in Southeast Asia's largest prostitution complex. Beautiful, well-groomed workers and top-shelf entertainment made it thrive. With that success came a new nickname, Mammy Rose. Among her elite clientele was Marine Lieutenant Colonel Purwanto, a powerful figure in Surabaya. He wasn't just a regular customer, he eventually became a business partner. In 1980, they launched a second brothel together named Sumber Rejeki, which translates to source of fortune. Purwanto invested heavily and demanded strict financial discipline. Each month, Sumiarsih was required to pay Purwanto 20 million rupiah, about 500 million rupiah in today's money, with a steep 10% penalty for late payments. Despite downturns caused by police raids and Ramadan closures, Purwanto continued to collect. In fact, the monthly fee eventually rose to 30 million rupiah. Sumiarsih expanded her offerings: live dangdut music, a mini bar, and a younger group of workers, aged 17 to 25. She taught them sewing and cooking skills, ensuring their lives wouldn't end in sex work. Financially, she flourished, earning up to 120 million rupiah per month. She supported her community, lent money to neighbors, and even helped with local events. But behind her generosity, pressure was mounting. Despite their partnership, Purwanto allegedly abused his power. He insulted and assaulted Sumiarsih, throwing boots, splashing drinks in her face, and once spitting at her during a payment dispute. He didn't stop with her. Her husband Prayit was allegedly threatened with a gun, and her son Sugeng was once detained at a marine facility for late payments. But the worst came when Purwanto set his sights on her daughter, Wati. Wati was 15 years old, and like her mother, known for her beauty. Purwanto, despite being married with 3 children, wanted to marry her. He proposed wiping out Sumiarsih's debt in exchange for her daughter's hand. Horrified, Sumiarsih instead arranged for Wati to marry a police sergeant, Adi Saputro. But this only enraged Purwanto further. In retaliation, he increased the debt and made more threats. One day, when Sumiarsih deposited 40 million rupiah into his account, far beyond their agreement, he demanded wati once again. It was the final straw. Consumed by rage, humiliation, and fear, Sumiarsih made a decision. If Purwanto couldn't be escaped, he would be eliminated. On August 12, 1988, Sumiarsih set her plan in motion. Alongside her husband Prayat, her son Sugeng, son-in-law Adi, her employee Dame, and stepson Nano, they armed themselves with iron pestles and gloves. They drove a Suzuki caravan to Purwanto's home in Duku Kupang Timur, Surabaya. They waited for the volleyball game outside his home to end. Then, just before 10 a.m., they entered. At first, everything seemed like a social visit, but inside, chaos unfolded. They struck Purwanto from behind with a hammer. He tried to fight back but succumbed to internal injuries. They moved his body to the garage. When his children, Budi and Bismoko, returned home, Adi ambushed them. They screamed and ran, but Sugeng caught and killed them. In the kitchen, Purwanto's pregnant wife, Sunarsih, and niece, Sumaryatun, heard the screams. They moved toward the garage, but Prayat and Sumiarsih were waiting. Adi and Sugeng strangled and bludgeoned them. 5 people were murdered in under an hour. That night, they loaded the bodies into Purwanto's Daihatsu Taft and drove to Songgoriti, a forested ravine in Batu, Malang. They doused the vehicle with gasoline, pushed it into the abyss, and set it on fire, making it look like a car accident. They returned home as if nothing had happened. The next day, August 13th, a local villager found the burned-out car and 5 charred bodies. At first, police suspected a traffic accident, but forensic analysis told a different story. The victims had died before the fire. Signs of blunt trauma and strangulation were clear. Blood spatter was found in outlets at Purwanto's home, carefully cleaned but not thoroughly. Investigators also found a suitcase in the car with 30 million rupiah in cash, odd for a family trip. Witnesses had seen the car burning before it reached the bottom of the ravine. The police quickly zeroed in on suspects. They traced Purwanto's business links and discovered his ties to the Dolly brothel world and to Sumiarsih. Surveillance and forensic work soon tied the murder to her. Police raided 2 homes, Purwanto's and Sumiarsih's. Fingerprints, witness testimony, and financial records confirmed the connection. One by one, suspects were arrested. Sumiarsih, Prayat, Sugeng, Dame, Nano, and Adi Saputro. Indonesia was stunned, not just by the crime, but by how carefully it had been planned. In February 1989, the Surabaya District Court delivered its verdict. Sumiarsih, Prayat, Sugeng, and Adi Saputro were sentenced to death for premeditated murder under Article 340 of the Indonesian Criminal Code. Dayam and Nano, considered accomplices, received life sentences. Over time, they were released. Dayam after 12 years, Nano after 15, for good behavior. Adi, a police officer, was tried separately in a military tribunal. He was executed in 1992, shot in the dead of night. Prayat died in 2001 in prison from a heart attack. Sumiarsih and Sugeng remained on death row for nearly 20 years. Their appeals, cassations, and clemency requests were denied. In prison, Sumiarsih reportedly suffered severe mental strain, isolated from the outside world. On July 19, 2008 at midnight, both were executed by firing squad in Sukun, East Java. Their execution sparked public debate. Was justice served? Or had society failed long before the blood was spilled? The case of Sumiarsih is more than a tale of murder. It's a mirror reflecting deeper problems in Indonesian society: poverty, gender exploitation, unequal power, institutional failure. The red light district of Gang Dolly was eventually shut down in 2014, in part due to the legacy of crimes like this one. But while buildings may close, trauma does not. Sumiarsih's story challenges stereotypes. She wasn't a helpless victim. She was the architect of revenge, a woman driven by rage, desperation, and defiance. Some see her as a monster, others as a product of a broken system. Her case is still studied by criminologists and legal scholars today as one of the few female-led mass murders in Indonesia's history. A mother, a madam, a murderer. The bloody trail of Sumiarsih reminds us, evil doesn't always wear a mask. Sometimes it smiles, serves tea, and waits for the right moment to strike. If this case disturbed you, and you want more untold stories from Indonesia's criminal archives, like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell for new uploads every week. This is Indonesia Crime Files. And remember, crimes don't happen just because someone wants to commit them. Sometimes all it takes is the perfect opportunity, and that should terrify you.